and welcome to Diecast Restos and to this trio of Jaguars. My name is Jason and this is the Lesney Matchbox No. 32A Jaguar XK140, originally produced from 1957 to 1962. All three of my examples have something wrong with them. This has a bad axle repair with a pin taking its place. This one has been painted over, while my final one has its rear axles and wheels missing completely. So today I'll be restoring two of these Jags, with the other a minor resto mod, by adding some additional details and painting it a custom colour. The originals had plenty of trim applied from the factory. This included front and rear bumpers, headlights and grille in silver, with red to the tail lights. The vast majority of models were painted in an off-white to cream colour, though rare late runs had red applied across the top of the cream to create an orangey red. It was later painted red over primer just before it was discontinued. Here's a cream one with grey plastic wheels in great condition. And here's a 1955 XK140 Fixed Head Coupé that this is based on. You'll have noticed that the wheel spats were missing on the real car. These were optional and looked like they were rarely chosen looking at historic photos, but were fitted on US cars with standard disc wheels instead of wire wheels. The spats were far more common on the 140's predecessor, the 1948 to 1954 XK140. The 120 was replaced late 1954 by the new model, which now had more interior space, uprated brakes, steering and increased suspension travel. The front and rear bumpers were more substantial than those on the XK140, helping distinguish the two. A chrome strip ran along the centre of the bonnet and boot lid. An emblem on the boot lid contained the words Winner Le Mans 1951-3, referencing their outright wins in 1951 and 1953, but not 1952. That year no Jaguar cars finished. All XK140s were powered by Jaguar's 3.4 litre straight 6, which produced 190 brake horsepower or 210 in the uprated special equipment SE editions. The XK140 had three different body styles. There was the Roadster, also designated the open two-seater, which had a light canvas roof that folded out from behind the seats. It had a removable windscreen, and its interior was trimmed in leather and leatherette. 3,349 of these were built. Owing to the British weather, unsurprisingly, just 73 of those were built right-hand drive. Far more of the Drop Head Coupés were made available for right-hand drive markets. 480 out of a total of 2,790 right-hand drive drop heads were built that featured a bulkier, lined canvas roof. This had a fixed windscreen, a small rear seat, and a walnut veneer dashboard. This casting is the Fixed Head Coupé. It shared the same trim and fittings as the DHC, just with the permanent roof. 2,798 of the fixed heads were made, bringing total production figures to 8,937. The XK140 could reach speeds of 124 miles per hour, 200 kilometers per hour. The same engine in the XK120 set the production car speed record in 1949 at 124.6 miles per hour. This was broken in 1955 by Mercedes' 150 mile per hour 300 SL. Some unique coach-built versions of the XK140 exist. The XK140 Zagato Coupé was built for a personal friend of Elio and Hugo Zagato, whose XK140 was damaged in an accident. While two further were built to the same specification, these were both the later XK150s. Giovanni Michelotti also designed coachwork for three XK140s for Ghia in 1955, called simply the XK140 Coupé by Ghia. Now while I apply the finishing touches of trim to one of my cream castings, I then turn my attention to coating my resto mod example in black. I think these XK140s look absolutely menacing when painted all black, with black wire wheels. The best ones have had their chrome work removed too, but for the purposes of this custom, I will retain the bright work, plus add in that central chrome coach line that runs down the middle of the boot and bonnet. Here I'm just fitting the wheels to my homemade axle made from a cut down blind rivet. Before I move on to detailing the custom Jag, a last few words on the history of the casting. The earliest examples had metal wheels fitted onto crimped axles. These then changed to grey plastic. My one missing its entire rear axle had grey plastic front wheels. Late runs of these were attached with rounded ends. When the colour changed to orange and later red, these all had grey plastic wheels with rounded ends. Of course, the crimping and rounding only applied to the front axle, as the rear wheels were held in place by these spats. After 5 years in production mostly unchanged, it was eventually replaced by the E-Type at 32B in 1962, which I restored in early 2021. In real life, the E-Type ultimately replaced the XK140's bigger brother, the XK150, in 1961. So you've seen the detailing on the black car, with the final touch just a bit of Citadel on the grille and headlamps. Here are my troubled trio of XK140s, each in a varying state of decay. One was complete but had been smeared in white paint. Another had been crudely fixed with a pin for a rear axle, while the last had no rear axle or wheels at all. I couldn't help but tackle all of these at once, so I had to mix it up with a resto mod on one of them, giving it a few extra little details and a totally new paint job. And here they all are, two in cream looking good as new, with the other subtly enhanced in black. The factory spec cars had the same trim as you'd have found when new, so the headlights, grille, front bumper and rear bumper, with red for the tail lights. As for my custom car, that has received the same trim, but for SHARPIE over the rear lights instead of red paint, as well as Citadel giving the headlights and grille a slightly more realistic look. I've also finished it with that distinctive chrome strip down the middle of the bonnet and boot lid, which helps set it apart from the older XK140. I'm pleased with how all three have turned out, but especially so with the black car. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you like what I've done with them, do leave me a like, and if you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest as we push towards 4,000 subscribers. So thanks for watching, see you again for the next one. Bye for now.